Richard, thank you, and delight to be back with you all again. And great to hear some positive news on the horizon of firms expanding both jobs, client work, and so on, and what otherwise I would describe as probably some grey clouds of reputation, particularly when the latest Edelman Trust Barometer shows that trust in the UK in government and media is at historic lows, based on pillars of competence and character, I suspect. So I am the CEO of Reputation Leaders. We're a consultancy that helps firms like you align their behaviors, their communications, their reputation. I was with Edelman for 7 years, helping to run the Edelman Trust Barometer. I also sat on the ACCA Board of Ethics for 2 years and got involved in ethics around the profession. If you haven't seen it, I would suggest you read the latest Edelman Trust Barometer. It's very informative. The bad news is that trust in government and media is at a record low. The good news is that trust in my employer is still relatively high. So I think that presents an opportunity. However, having said that, the big four are under the spotlight at the moment for audit failures, fines, and reputational damage. And ultimately, I think the whole audit profession wins or loses when the big four suffers reputational damage. Just to give you some quick reminders of recent horror stories that you've probably heard of in the press. KPMG UK was fined £3 million by the FRC for serious failings around conviviality. It stands accused of misleading regulators around the audit of Carillion. PwC is accused of missing warning signs around Chinese property developer Evergrande. E&Y was found to have violated accounting standards during its assessment of Wirecard. And now Deloitte is now being pursued by Tongaat over its role in the accounting scandal, which resulted in the share collapse. Reputation challenges across the board. And if that wasn't enough in news this week, the incoming chair of the UK accounting watchdog, Sir John du Plessis, has warned auditors that they need to cooperate with regulators as the sector becomes subject to an overhaul of FRC governance and its increasingly more stringent replacement, ARGA. So scrutiny is up. What do I take from this? My take is that no audit firm is immune from a reputational crisis. That trust is actually fundamental to what audit firms sell in the basis of your competent, ethical, professional advice and behavior. And beyond that, beyond a legal right to operate, societal right to operate fundamentally comes down to a belief and a trust in your competence, character, and the way that you conduct yourself. Also in how well you communicate when there is a crisis. So the question that Richard raised is opposite. How can you sustain your firm's reputation at a time when there may be decreased faith in the audit profession as a whole? First of all, what is reputation? Well, reputation, in our view, is brand is the promise that you make, and reputation is how well your stakeholders think you're living up to it. So it's, on one hand, it's your performance, everything you do, but secondly, it's your conduct, how well you do what you do and how you do it. And increasingly, the conduct is the lightning rod. Four things I think that apply to the audit profession, and I've put it into 4 Ps. One is professionalism, a trust in your ethical and professional behavior. Secondly is performance, people's belief that you have the competence and expertise to do the job well. Thirdly, proactivity, a willingness to quickly address any faults or systemic issues when they arise. And fourthly, public relations, just being transparent and honest in your communications internally and externally. So given that, I've put together some thought starters on what a local audit firm can do to boost a reputation. And the first thing I would say is emphasize your board and your managing partner's commitment to audit quality and the maintenance of standards. Reputation starts and is led from the top. Secondly, I would highlight your personal and your local connections with clients. Long-term relationships are the foundation of trust. In terms of reputation failures, in my experience on sitting on the ACCA Board of Ethics, many failures were actually not around technical failure. They were largely failures in ethics that resulted from cultural and systemic issues in the firm rather than audit issues. I do think there is an opportunity, since there is 71% trust in UK employers, to build the increasing trust with your employees at this time by engaging in discussion around firms' values, not only the strategy, but the purpose, professional standards, ethical expectations, remote working, all the kinds of things. I think listening is as important as anything else you do to building reputation. And ultimately, I do think you need to have a crisis plan in place. You need to have a boiler statement if things go wrong, that's saying this is what we stand for, this is who we are, and this is how we're going to address any issues. I do think there's an opportunity to participate in the broader discussion of what are the future standards of accounting and what audit should be. I think the audit profession needs to shape its future or risk having it shaped for it. And I would point to the fact that I have found there's a great variety of very useful tools that I've tapped into over the years. Some of them on the ethics side, for example, is the IBE, the Institute of Business Ethics, along with IESBA. The ACCA, I found a very useful resource. I'm familiar with Blueprint for Business in the Community. They do great work. And the FRC also, for its faults, also has some pretty good guidance. But whatever you decide to do, and I think, as Richard said, it comes down to managing people, both clients and internally, do take some action now positively as part of your strategy to think about how can we bolster and protect the reputation of our firm. So with that in mind, I'll hand back to you, Richard, and look forward to the panel discussion later.